I'm so happy to see so many of you with your cameras on. So thank you. It's always fun to see you. All right. I think it's time. Let's get started. Thanks again for coming. Hi, Reclaiming Good Posture. We're going to be with you today for about 30 to 45 minutes with the presentation, leave time for discussion after. And of course, there'll be plenty of time to answer questions and ask questions in the middle as well. Anna, would you mind clicking for me? So before we get started, in case you don't know about us, Vintage Fitness, we are a company in Toronto that's been around for 21 years, founded in 2005, with the purpose of transforming and energizing the lives of seniors in the Greater Toronto Area. We're a personal training company for seniors, built with trainers who are specialized in working with older adult bodies and are passionate about transforming the lives of people over, we say 50, but most of our clients are between the age of 65 and 95, with our oldest current client being 96 and our oldest former client being 100. So we're all older adult fitness specialists. The team has grown to 25 trainers across the city. And we also work with people virtually across the world. We're results oriented. It's very important that you know that you will achieve your results with us, but it happens over time. And we encourage a long-term commitment to health and fitness. And we want you to make a lifestyle of it and focus on slow and steady progress over time. And my name's Lee. I'm the owner of Vintage Fitness. So pleased to be able to make an impact as I've been working for 20 years in seniors fitness one-on-one and in groups. And now with a larger team, we can impact more people and we have greater reach. I'm super proud of my team it's filled with people who are trained in physiotherapy, in kinesiology, have other backgrounds in health and fitness, and tons of experience and passion for working with seniors. And I'm joined today by one of these wonderful members of the team, Anna Ferreira. And she is a registered kinesiologist. She loves doing these presentations with us. And she also hosts our education sessions for our team on the regular as we continue to educate each other in the realm of seniors fitness and continue to learn from each other. Anna is also passionate about including exercises that require cognition and coordination because brain health matters too, as we know with our population. So we're excited to share some of what we know about posture with you today, and we want to find out what you want to learn from us as well. And this webinar is for you if you want to reduce neck, shoulder, and back discomfort, if you want to sit, stand, and walk with more ease and more stability, if perhaps you're a little unsteady on your feet, or you just want to stand taller and feel better and possibly look better, and that's okay too. So today's topics, we're going to include types of posture, good and bad posture, good and bad, and why it matters and how it can vary from person to person, how the ergonomics vary from sitting and standing. And of course, we're always solutions focused. So in our webinars that we do every 6 to 8 weeks, we like to focus on how you can change your, it started getting echoey there. That's weird. Can you hear that too? Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay, let's try muting everyone and see if that helps. Can you hear me? Okay, great. That's better. Okay, so in today's topic. So types of posture, good and bad posture, sitting and standing ergonomics, and helpful tips and take-home exercises. So we always like to focus on the solution. So we always like to show you some exercises that you can take with you. And here's a good one. This is a quote from Morgan Freeman, apparently. Your best posture is your next posture. So, what do you think that means? I think a lot of times when people think about posture, they just think about sitting up really tall and putting a book on their head and just being rigid, right? But our spines are flexible. And so instead of striving for one perfect static position, it's important to think about small movements and regular movements that your body thrives on and changes in position. So that can be even in your chair, and your posture changing all the time in that dynamic movement. Oh, I see a couple messages in the chat here. Okay, that's great. Thank you. Okay, so two types of posture. Static posture, of course, how you hold your body while you're standing, sitting, or lying, but you're still. And this focuses on joint alignment against gravity. And then, of course, dynamic posture, how you hold and control your body during movement. So walking, lifting, or climbing, and this focuses on maintaining balance and efficiency of movement. So how you function during motion. Any questions so far? Okay. All right. So some common signs of poor posture, and maybe you can let us know if you're experiencing any of these by putting your hand up or dropping it in the chat. Common signs of poor posture. It's so easy these days, right? Because, whoop, and even my computer, it could be on a stand right now. I'm actually leaning forward a little bit. Um, so you want to think about these things without obsessing over them. So common signs of poor posture. Are we experiencing any of these? Pain or stiffness, especially in your head, neck, and shoulders. Head forward in front of the shoulders, which means it's in front of the whole body. And we'll talk later about why that's a problem. Low back or neck pain. Your weight shifted forward, like I said, like you're either slumped or it's extending back. Another common complaint with or sign of poor posture is frequent headaches. Anybody? And reduced flexibility or range of motion, particularly in the shoulders, sometimes in the hamstrings, or the lower back. And we'll get into more details with that later as well. Okay. Welcome, Pauline. Nice to see you too. And we have a little check for you all now. So have you done this one before where you go over to your wall? You don't have to do it right now, but you can if you want. So you go and you put your back on the wall and you see if you can put the back of your head, your shoulder blades, and your sacral area, which is like your lower back, sort of butt area, touching the wall all at the same time. And I have to say, I actually did this test like right before we got on the webinar, and I hadn't done it in a little while. It was a little tight. So what we can notice is if you have to bring your chin all the way up to make it happen, then that can be an issue. So you want to be able to have that alignment with the chin tuck. And that's where I was noticing I need some stretches. So good thing Anna's going to be showing us later. So that's a good way to check what your posture is now. And it's also a good way to check how it's progressing over time when you implement some of these strategies and solutions. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to the wonderful, the fabulous, the talented Anna Ferreira to take
That's
it from here.
quite an introduction, Lee. Hopefully you don't hear my dog barking. I'm fingers crossed for that. Zoom usually is pretty good at canceling it out, but she's having some big feelings right now.
Mine's snoring over here, so they can be in stereo.
Oh, I wish she was just snoring. That would be a lot easier. Okay. It's doing that thing that it does. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, perfect. So, what are some reasons why we might have poor posture? So flexibility limitations. So just as Lee was just saying, areas that might be a little bit tight, that's going to affect your ability to maintain that, neutral alignment. If you have muscle imbalances or weaknesses, if one side's stronger than the other, that can really affect your posture. You see that a lot with scoliosis, for example. So people who have a curvature in their spine, usually one side is overdeveloped, one side is underdeveloped. Weak core. So a lot of us have probably a weaker core than we should, and we're not using it on our, a day-to-day basis, and that is going to affect our posture as well, especially when it comes to our pelvis. So it might tilt forward or backwards if our core is weak and underactivated. We can also have structural abnormalities, which I just talked about one, which is scoliosis. So that's something that you could be born with, or it could also be something that you develop over time. And lastly, repetitive activity. So if we're doing the same exact movement, the same exact way all the time, high level athletes, things like that, if we're not actively working to correct for that and even out the other side, we might get areas that are either too tight or too weak, and we're not having that proper posture. Oh, and stress or lack of confidence. So if we're really stressed out, shoulders tend to go up. And if we're not feeling very confident, tend to kind of slouch, try and make ourselves smaller. So all those things will also affect our posture.
Oh, that's such an interesting notice. I do notice sometimes visiting clients, I can tell the emotional state of a person from the way that they're holding their body. And it's wild. I'm like, okay, what's going on in that brain of yours today? Because you're heavy, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. So noticing what's happening in your head as well can help you with the cues for your body.
Alrighty. So we'll chat about some potential effects of poor posture. So again, because we're kind of like, especially when we're slouching a lot, we're kind of compressing some of those vital organs that we have in our abdominal region. So that can affect our digestion, cause sluggish digestion, heartburn, acid reflux. Can also affect like your continence as well. Can cause joint and muscle pain, can affect your spine. So if we're again in those repetitive positions or like not lifting well when we're moving dynamically, all those things can put a lot of pressure on our spine and cause earlier de degeneration than would be typical. And then trouble breathing again. As I said, everything, we have lots of very important organs in that abdominal region. So if we are kind of compressing that, that can affect its performance. So what is good posture? And there's a very good reason why we have the kind of like quotations around it, because it differs from person to person. There is kind of textbook good posture, which is everything perfectly in alignment. But the reality is that no one or very few people actually look like that. So we want to be as close to neutral and we want to be functional. But it's okay not to be perfect and that it will change, time to time. So, as I said, may not always be advantageous. And sometimes you can have structural abnormalities that are perfectly functional. So, a good example is Usain Bolt. He's an amazing runner, but he does have a scoliosis. And it's something that you probably would never know that he has a scoliosis because it's not impacting his ability to perform. So, good example there. Okay, so we will still chat about kind of what the textbook good standing posture is. Again, there will be slight deviations from person to person, and each person's normal is going to be a little bit different. So just one example with that in terms of like spinal curvatures, everyone usually has a little bit of a difference. So where usually we have like a little bit of a curve in the top of our neck, then we go rounded like concave, and then or convex on this side, concave on this side, and then we're gonna come back out. So it's a little bit of an S that our spine usually does, but some people will have more in one section of the curve than another. And that's okay so long as it's functional and not causing problems. Okay, but generally, we want to have our chin be parallel to the floor when we're standing. We want to have our shoulders pulled back and down. That one's usually hard for a lot of people. We want to have our spine be as neutral as possible, so maintaining what our natural curvatures are, and not putting it in a position where you're going to have a lot of pressure on one area. We want to have our arms relaxed at our side, elbows straight and even side to side. And we want to have our abdominal muscles engaged, ideally. To some degree, our postural stabilizing core muscles will be active all the time, but we want to try and utilize them as well. So, especially if we are standing and about to do a movement, twist, pick something up, we want to think about keeping that core engaged, right? But we don't have to stress about, having it engaged every second of every day. It will still do its job, whether we think about it or not. We just want to try and help it a little bit. We want to have the hips be as level as possible. Again, usually there are some variations there, and sometimes we can't control. Some people are born with one leg being actually longer than the other. That's going to make it so that they can't have level hips. But sometimes we can adjust things in the shoes and stuff like that to help with that. We do ideally want to have the knees pointing straight ahead and kind of even side to side, and body weight distributed evenly between the feet. I would say that one is one of the more important ones. We want to try and have that even body weight and basically body in balance as much as possible. So when we talk about good seated posture, again, a lot of us don't actually do this. I know, right? One of my weaknesses is when I sit at my desk, I don't like to put my feet on the floor, which we will talk about shortly. I like to put it on, there's a bar, so I like to put it on the bar instead of on the floor. But ideally, we want to have our knees and hips at 90 degrees, as you can see in both of these photos. And we want to have our feet flat on the floor. As I said, I'm currently not doing that. I am trying to, but it's just so unnatural for me. We want to have our eyes be in line with the screen or the task. So there is two images here. A lot of people use laptops these days. The problem with laptops is that the screen is generally not at the right height for your eyes. You're looking more down. So there are stands that can help raise it up. But when we're doing that, we then ideally want to have an external keyboard because then we don't want to affect our arm posture by having it raised up unnaturally. But even still, even if our laptop stays flat, a lot of times it's still not the perfect positioning for our hands and elbows. So a lot of times, really, laptops are good for convenience, but they're not the best if we want to do like really long amounts of work. We want to try and have the neck and shoulders relaxed. That can be hard, especially if we're doing a stressful task. So taking frequent breaks can kind of help you remind yourself to relax a little bit, take a few deep breaths. We want to have the low back supported, ideally. And elbows should be close to our body at around 90 degrees and supported. So we don't want them just kind of hanging out because that puts a lot of pressure on our elbow, our shoulder, our wrist. So ideally have that supported. Thighs and hips also supported, so by the chair. When we talk about good sitting hygiene, I kind of discussed on this already, but if you are sitting at a desk for a long time, we want to try and take frequent breaks. Even if we're just standing up for a couple seconds to a minute, there has been research that shows that that can still be helpful to like reset the body. So also switching from sitting to standing if at all possible. If you're doing a lot of work on the computer and you're able to get something like a standing desk and alternate between sitting and standing. As we said earlier, your best posture is your next posture. So we want to constantly be changing the position. Our bodies are meant to move. So ideally not staying in one spot for a long time. And again, some of these things are hard to do on your own. So even just setting a timer to every hour, every couple hours to get up for a few minutes, take a quick stretch break, go to the washroom, anything like that. Just a little reminder to move, readjust, remind yourself of how you should be sitting. Okay, so when we talk about good posture and movement, of course, it's going to depend on what task, but there are some good key points. So, in general, when we're lifting heavier objects, we want to make sure we're using our legs more than our back because they're full of really, really strong muscles. We also want to engage our core anytime we're really lifting anything or twisting, or that's really the main two ones, lifting or twisting. And we want to keep the spine neutral where possible. Again, there will be some slight variations from person to person, but trying to keep it in that neutral alignment.
Just a point there, if you go back to that photo, Anna, is she wasn't really using her legs in the picture, you may have noticed. So it was a bit better in the earlier photo where they were really bending down. So we
Hmm.
talked about even pressure on both feet. We talked about bending the legs, and she doesn't have a neutral spine here either. So, but that was the best picture we could find. So you guys can do better than that, though.
Yeah. The other thing to note in this picture too is she's wearing high heels. And high heels do change the position of our feet. So while they are pretty, they are not the best for long-term wear because they do change all of our body mechanics and angles. So ideally, when possible, flat shoes. These aren't too high, so they're not too bad. But ideally, we want to keep our feet in neutral as well. Yeah, Lee, I actually have the participants covering that picture, so I didn't really take it on very much. So I'm glad you added that to that there. Okay, so we're going to chat about some helpful tips, and then we'll go into exercises shortly. So this one is a big one, is that your head weighs a lot more than your phone. So it is hard to get in the habit of doing, but a lot of us will take the phone and be looking down like this, and that's putting a lot of pressure on our neck. So we are better off to hold the phone at eye level or, support our elbows and look at the phone so that it's at eye level. Yeah, that's something I was working in a chiropractic clinic a couple years ago, and that was one of the first lessons I learned. She's like, your head weighs more than your phone. Pick up your phone and bring it to your face. Just don't do that on a bed and then drop it on your face because I've done that. Alrighty. Soreness and stiffness. Our bodies are very intelligent and they will tell us when things aren't right. So if you're getting a lot of soreness and stiffness, doing specific tasks like a lot of computer work, sitting on the couch, and that might be your sign to check your posture and be like, okay, how am I sitting? Am I using the lessons I learned in this webinar with Anna and Lee? And kind of just check and see, is there something that could be that I could be doing better if I'm in this longer term position? Can I move more often? Take some stretches, some stretching breaks, or is there a specific area of my body that this keeps happening to that maybe I need to work a little bit more on? And then, of course, with that, trying to make sure as much as possible that we have that ergonomic posture if we're working on the computer, any sustained position, really. And of course, use our core whenever possible. So whenever you're about to do a movement, try and engage the abdominal muscles first, and then go from there. We want to be aware of our posture, but we don't want to spend time worrying about it. So if we really start to fixate on it, then that's not going to help us either. So, that's where I like the idea of if we're working at our desk, setting a timer. When the timer goes off, that's kind of your reminder of quick check, see how things are looking. But we don't want to spend all of our energy focusing on a perfect posture because it doesn't exist. Okay, maintaining a healthy weight. So specifically for spinal health, especially if we're carrying excess weight in terms of what our body is supposed to carry, that's gonna put more weight on the front. And then that usually changes your posture, and your body will have to compensate for the weight on the front, usually by increasing one of the curvatures of the spine. So it's going to put more pressure on the spine. So that's another important thing there. Of course, healthy weight is going to be a little bit different for everyone. So just to note that. What I was chatting about earlier, wearing comfortable and supportive shoes, and ideally ones that aren't heels or putting your feet in really unnatural positions. Um, and then also spending some time using the muscles of your feet by walking around, barefoot sometimes, or, if you're not comfortable walking around barefoot, or it's a safety issue for you, then just spending some time doing some foot exercises. Because a lot of us don't use our feet as much as we, used to, from a what's the word? Evolutionary perspective. And our feet are the base of our body, and they have some really important proprioceptive abilities in telling us where we are in space, helping with our balance. So the stronger and more used those can be, the better our balance is. And of course, stay active. Okay, so some benefits of good posture. You'll notice a lot of them are just the flip side of what the bad sides of the cons of bad posture are. So reduces your injury risk. If we're in a better position when we're moving our body, then we're less likely to hurt ourselves. Decreases muscle fatigue. Again, more balanced body, less likely to have, muscle tiredness. Better balance, that's a huge one, especially as we age. Reducing the tension in your shoulder, neck, jaw, which just feels better. I don't think anyone likes walking around with their shoulders like up here. It's not actually, it doesn't usually feel very nice. Reducing low back and neck pain, and may help with your ability to breathe because again, standing taller allows our lungs and diaphragm to fully expand and contract. Can also have better digestion because again, we're not compressing that abdominal region. And we can potentially have increased energy because there is a lot of energy that goes into maintaining our balance in and our position in space. We have lots of tiny muscles that are always kind of working. So the more that we can kind of help them out, the less energy our body has to dedicate to that, and that might actually increase our energy. And of course, it can improve your confidence as well. Usually, even just standing taller psychologically, you will feel a little bit better about yourself. And for the athletes out there, whether competitive or recreational, can improve your athletic performance. All right. There was a systematic review done in 2024. Um, I am gonna choose not to say their names just because they are either Spanish or Portuguese. One of them is missing a tilde there. So I'm just gonna butcher it if I try and say it. So their three names are there. But I don't want to do them a disservice by butchering their names. All right. But they were looking at how exercises can improve posture. And what they found is that stretching and strengthening is effective in improving postural dysfunctions. And it depends on the postural dysfunction as to where the exercises are most effective and the amount that needs to be done. So they found that it varied between 2 times a week to daily as to how frequently the exercises needed to be performed. And again, that was based on the condition they were trying to correct. And improvements were seen anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks with consistent exercise, again, depending on the condition. More complex conditions, so things like scoliosis, we needed to do neuromuscular or proprioceptive training exercises to have better results. So again, the neuromuscular proprioceptive, that's our body's ability to know where we are in space. So even like when we're standing on, 1 foot, our body is receiving the information of where we are in space, sending it up to our brain, processing it. So that is important for more complex conditions or if we've had an injury to do that retraining so that our body knows where we are in space and can effectively rebalance us. If any of those, like any terms don't make sense, just let us know and we're happy to try and explain it in a way that makes sense to you. Alrighty, so now we're going to talk about some exercises. So this is just a small subset of exercises. Chose some of the ones that are kind of the most common areas that have issues and to kind of correct them. So a lot of us, because we spend a lot of time on the computer and the phone, we have forward shoulders and our posterior chain muscles, so all the muscles in the back are very weak. So between that and sitting a lot, usually we have a lot of weakness in all the muscles in the back. So to correct that, we can do things like rows. So that's pulling towards you. Lat pull down, you're pulling again, but we're pulling from up above down to your side. We can do something like a banded pull apart. So that I have my band right here, so I can show you. So again, we're pulling our shoulder blades together, but we're pulling in front. And then chin tucks. So a lot of us have a forward head posture. So our head is in front of our shoulders. That puts a lot of strain on our neck. And then a lot of people don't like the look of it. I have had many clients be like, "How can I fix this? I'm getting the hump on the back of my neck. It looks so ugly. I don't like it." So one of the things we can do for that is working on repositioning our neck by doing a chin tuck. So basically consciously putting our chin in line with the rest of our spine. So literally just giving yourself a double chin and holding it.
Yeah, a note on these exercises too. These are great. With the bands, you can do those ones seated. Even the one that's the first one, you can do that in your chair. Um, and then you can do those first three exercises, the rows, the pull downs, or the banded pull aparts, even without the band up first to really
Yeah.
work on the mobility part. And then we add the strength in after that.
Exactly, exactly. And we will actually also chat about some stretches at the end that can help with that mobility aspect as well. But as Lee said, if you're lacking in strength, you can start with it without any band, just working through the movement. And if you are more deconditioned, that can still be challenging for you and work a little bit on the muscles as well. Okay, core exercises. There's no shortage of core exercises. But we can do things like a plank, which you can see in this top picture. And we have our dead bug. So that's usually on your back. To start, I usually get people to do both knees and hips bent to 90 degrees, both arms straight up in the air, and just hold that position. Because for a lot of people, if they haven't done it before, just holding it can be a challenge. And then as we get better, we can do as in this picture where we're doing opposite arm, opposite leg. Superman's is a really good one for working on the core and on that posterior chain set of muscles that I was talking about. So it's doing a little bit of back extension, which we don't do often. So we are doing exactly what it sounds. Looking like Superman's, we're going to raise both our arms in the air, both our legs in the air, keeping our torso on the floor or the bed. And we're going to hold that for a couple of seconds and then relax. We can also do opposite arm, opposite leg for a more challenging variation. So there's lots of play there. And
It's
then,
also good for shoulder mobility, the Supermans, so it's
yeah.
doing the corrective thing at the same time. So that's some of the, yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Side planks is another great one. And most of these we can modify to, make them easier. So the plank and the side plank, we can always do from a raised surface if doing it from the floor is too challenging. For the side plank, you can do it on your elbow or on your hand. There are lots of variations based on your mobility, your limitations, and your starting point. So all of those are really good options there. Did you have anything to add, Lee, before I move on?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're not able to get down on the floor right now, and you can start by doing the dead bug in the chair, just bringing opposite arm and leg out in front of you with a knee out and an opposite arm. That'll help you strengthen your core
Yeah.
in the beginner version. And then the Supermans, you can also do that against the wall, facing the wall, to start without going against gravity. just to put less pressure on the lower back to start while you're getting going. But we
Yeah,
would show you all these different modifications based on your level. We're just trying to give you an idea of what might be suitable for you and what you know of yourself now.
exactly. Okay. Balance exercises. So as I kind of mentioned earlier, a big part of our posture is our ability to balance. So our body is constantly making small adjustments. There are a lot of small muscles that are active all the time just to keep us upright. If not, we would just flop down. So we want to make sure that we're challenging our balance in order to help with our posture as well. So standing on one leg is one of the more advanced versions. One of the easiest ones that I usually like to start with is just weight shifts. So shifting your weight from side to side. You can do forward and back as well, and use a chair for support if you need. You can also do tandem walks. That one's a little bit more challenging. And then we can progress to standing on one leg. So all of these things are going to help with that body's ability to figure out where we are in space and to maintain our alignment while we start to move. So that's a big part of balance training as well, as once we start to do more dynamic balance, that's really going to help with our dynamic posture. Alrighty. So stretches. Often we find, again, because we're all sitting at desks most of the time, we're rounded forward. So not only is the back side of our shoulders weak, but our chest is very tight. So we want to try and open it up, and that's going to help with our posture. So a good way to do that is that door frame chest stretch that's in the picture there. If you do have, shoulder limitations, you can do it a little bit lower down or on a wall. But we're really just trying to open up the chest. And even if that's too intense for you, that's another one where we can even do without doing it on a wall. Just really just trying to pull your shoulder back, and you should feel a little bit of a stretch into your the front of your chest, depending on how tight you are. Yep. The other one, because we sit a lot, is our quads and hip flexors are usually quite tight, so that front of the thigh region. So we can get into kind of a lunge position and do a stretch for our quad and our hip flexor. Or we can do a standing quad stretch. There are also modifications if you can't do it standing, where we can do both of those seated in a chair. And we just slide to the edge of the chair, and then we're going to put same positioning, 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. And we can do both that quad stretch and the lunge stretch if you're not able to do those standing. Also can do it lying down on a bed. There are lots of variations there.
And I think there was one more slide from before with the glute bridge, like for the glute stuff.
Oh, didn't
Yeah,
even realize it
I
it
think
got skipped
yeah, I
there.
think we missed one. Yeah,
Okay,
because
perfect.
yeah, you want to be able to strengthen the posterior chain too while you stretch the front of it. So I love the bridge for that
Yes.
one.
Yes.
Hmm.
I didn't even realize we skipped through one here. Yes. So as we were talking about earlier, we want to strengthen all of the posterior chain. So again, because we sit a lot of people don't have, well-developed hamstrings and glutes, so that backside of our body. So good exercises for that is the glute bridge that Lee was just chatting about. So that's the first picture here. That can be done on a bed if you have trouble getting down to the floor. And clams, we can do with or without a band to start. There are lots of variations. We can even start doing it on our back instead of on our side, and that's a little bit of an easier variation. Monster walks are a little bit more challenging, but one of my favorites for really activating the glutes and any of the muscles that kind of externally rotate the hips or bring them out to the side. So that when you put a band on, you're going to stay in kind of a little bit of a squat position, and then you're going to do some lateral walking, and that really fires things up. Easier than that, but similar idea. Just walking side to side. Side walking is going to be really great for firing up the glutes as well. For the hip flexors, which we were just talking about stretching, things like marching, step ups, anything that we're raising the leg up, we're going to strengthen the muscles in our hip flexors. And a lot of people have both tight and weak hip flexors because of the sitting. So that's an important one there. Okay. And yeah, we already chatted about this. So neck stretches. Often upper traps is quite tight for most people, so that's an easy ear to shoulder stretch that we can do. Hamstrings, so stretching the back of the leg, we can elevate the leg, or we can touch our toes. We can do it lying down. There are lots of ways to do the hamstring stretch, but really just essentially we're bringing the leg into a straight position, and then we should be able to feel a stretch in the back of the thigh. And then the calves are another one that's quite tight so that we can stretch against a wall. Or even if you're, sitting and you want to do a little bit of calf stretching, just bringing your toes as close to your face, and then relaxing them, kind of going through a range of motion of like point and flex, point and flex. That's also going to help loosen up things in your calf. Okay, Lee, did you have anything to add before we take questions?
Just that if some of those areas are tight, they really can affect your posture. So that's why we're adding those stretches in. If you have really tight hamstrings, which is a common place to have tightness, it can pull off your posture. So stretching them out will really help you to be able to get that alignment. And when we work with you, we work on the posture and the stretching and the strengthening all at once. So yeah, so that you are efficiently moving in the right direction. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you, Anna.
No problem. All right, did we have any questions?
If there is something that you came here to learn and you haven't learned it yet, you can ask a question now and we can see if we can answer it for you here. And we're also, of course, going to give you the recording of this full webinar so that you can review it all and take the exercises with you.
There were a couple of questions in the chat, Lee.
Yeah,
So one was asking what tandem walking is. So tandem walking is when we put one foot in front of the other and walk one foot in front of the other. So that's
right.
tandem walking is.
And a way to do it a little easier is not put one foot right in front of the other, but kind of like almost.
Walk to the
Yeah.
side. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're kind of starting that way. Oh yeah, sorry, I missed those chats before.
And
There's another
easier.
one from earlier too. Sorry, Jenny, I missed you.
I
How
was
can
just
you get
gonna
both your lower back and your bum on the wall at the same time? Good question. You can't, like our bodies are all different, right? So it depends on the curve in your back. It's it's kind of the spot right above your butt that would touch, or your butt, depending on how you're designed, but not your lower back because you're going to have a bit of a curve there. Is that what you're going to say, Anna? Yeah,
I was
good
just gonna
question.
say with the tandem walking as well and easier, you can also just start by staying in that position and getting comfortable with that before you progress to moving through it as well.
What are some ways that you can know when to progress, like when doing these exercises to strengthen and to change posture? How do you know when it's time to progress?
That's an excellent question. I think it really depends on the exercise as to the specific kind of signs. With stretching, it's more so when things start to become a little bit looser, then you know that you're kind of going in the right direction. For strength, usually when let's say you're doing 10 reps of something, usually when the last couple ones start getting easy instead of being challenging, that's when we know we want to make it a little bit more difficult, either by adding weight, intensity, or changing up the exercise. Um, but yeah, it's usually when the last couple ones should be a little bit challenging. So if they're not, then we could usually do a little bit more. Anything
Yeah,
to add,
good one.
Lee?
No, we have a couple of our trainers on the call today too. So if any of you guys want to pop in and help answer the questions too. Feel free if you wanted to add anything. Thanks for coming. Yeah. Okay, good. And any other questions? Okay. We want to remind you that we are here and answering your calls. It's been a busy month so far, so we're really excited to be starting with some of you that I see here today. And Sid is available to give you a call. If you want to send me an email, if you want a call from us, it's Leigh, Leigh, at vintagefitness.ca, or you can call the number there on the screen. If you want to talk about how you can get started on an exercise program with us, on our website, you can also find all kinds of testimonials. And if you're not already signed up for our newsletter, again, you can send me an email and I can throw you on it to make sure that you know when the next webinars are, where our free resources are, and or how to get started with us. Oh, we have one more question in here from Irene. What is a good curvature? And can it be corrected? Oh, that's going to be very different from person to person. Do you want to take that one, Anna?
Sure. So as I said, there's kind of like the normal curvature is I could spout out degrees for you, but I'm sure you don't care. But there is like a normal, what they consider to be like normal average degree of curvature, but really our neck should have a little bit of a curve. Then our like upper back should go the opposite way. So our neck goes out and then our um upper back goes the other way, and then our lumbar spine kicks out a little bit like our neck does. So they should be pretty gentle curves. If one is super exaggerated or one is super diminished, that is going to affect your posture. But as I kind of mentioned earlier, that there is going to be some variation person to person. Some of it is correctable, some of it is not. So something like a scoliosis is challenging to correct if it is a significant scoliosis. Depending on the age, sometimes they have medical interventions for that, surgeries or braces. In terms of from an exercise perspective, we try to help get as much balance in the musculature side to side. But especially via exercise, scoliosis is something that's not usually truly corrected. We just want to try and improve the functionality of the person. And as I mentioned earlier, you can have a scoliosis and be functional. For me, I have an excessive curvature in my low back. So my low back really kicks out. But I've always had that. Can that improve a little bit? Because I know that my posterior chain muscles could be stronger, my core could be stronger, and that's going to affect. So when you're really weak into certain areas, it can tilt your pelvis, and that's going to accentuate that curvature in your low back. So I know that's definitely the case with me. So could it improve? Yes, but will it probably always be a little bit more than some people? Yes. So that's where we're trying to achieve the most functional position for you, and that is going to vary slightly person to person. Unfortunately, there's not like a perfect textbook, answer, but we want to just try and be as close to kind of a neutral spine where everything is stacked one on top of each other. Does that make sense? Does
That's
that answer your
great.
question?
That's great. And also being able to engage your core and feel it being engaged. That's how you know you're in a good alignment for you. It's going to differ from person to person in the way it looks, but in the way it feels, it can be pretty similar. And then we have one more question here too, from Jan. Thank you. My one knee's not straight. Will these exercises help correct that? Do you mean not straight like it can't extend all the way or from side to side?
Sorry. No, it's turned in. So like one of the slides said their knees should be straight going forward, and my one knee turns in.
Right. Yeah.
Did you want me?
There can be, yes,
Or
that'd be great. Thank you. Yeah.
Again, it's kind of it depends. It could be due to weakness in some of the muscles of your leg. So if you're turning in, then the muscles on the inside of your thigh might be a little bit tight, and the muscles on the outside might be a little bit weak. And so if we can get more balance, we might see kind of a correction there. But it depends is if it's more functional, so due to like muscles, or if it's more a structural abnormality of the bone from your leg just points at more of a harsh angle than someone else. So there is some level of play. It can help. But there's never 100% guarantee that it will fix it. But even getting back to closer to neutral, closer to being in alignment is gonna be beneficial as compared to being very extreme one way or the other.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. And we got a message saying, thank you, good session. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. And thank you all for coming today. We got to thank you, Anna and Lee. Hope someone's entering right now. Better late than never. Nice to see you all. It's wonderful to have you here today. If you have any questions that didn't get answered today, feel free to email us and let us know. And please join us for the next one. We will keep you updated on what that will be.
Okay, thank you.
Hope to hear from you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Okay,
Have a great
thank you
day.
too.
Bye.
You, bye.
Bye.
Bye.